Hello and welcome to On the Agenda, a semi-monthly podcast by the City of Reno that quickly updates you on actions taken at the most recent council meeting and checks in with various departments to keep you up to date with happenings within City Hall. I'm AJ from the City of Reno's communications team, and with me, as always, is Reno City Manager Jackie Bryant. Hello, Reno City Manager Jackie Bryant.
Hi, AJ.
I love your blazer today. You're very Halloween themed. It feels like
I just wear black. It's easy. I don't have to think in the morning.
Same. I have 20 pairs of these pants.
Yeah,
they're
it's
all the
same color. I don't have to worry about it.
So today we're going to discuss the new ADU ordinance that the city has been working on for a couple of years. But before we get into our main topic, let's review a few of the actions that were taken at the last City Council meeting. Here with that is Reno City Manager Jackie Bryant.
Thank you very much. So on the October 8th council agenda, council approved some grants, including installing a fence on the new Northwest Dog Park, a technology grant from the Nevada Department of Public Safety to support the RPD Regional Gang Unit, and a grant from the Washoe County Local Emergency Planning Committee to support RPD's anti-terrorism response. Council also heard a presentation from REMSA on current initiatives and community programs. That was super interesting. They also heard a presentation from John Flansburgh regarding a potential sewer user rate increase and how we can make some improvements to our sewer utility assistance program. That item has been continued to the October 22nd agenda. And finally, Council heard two different items around a street abandonment. Both were approved, one on Giro Street to the Reno Sparks Indian Colony and one on Monroe Street to Our Lady of the Snows.
Giro and Monroe.
Giro and Monroe.
Thank you for the updates on that. If you want to read more, you can always check out our website, reno.gov/news. During the council meeting, council approved an ordinance for accessory dwelling units, also known as ADUs. To help us better understand the new ordinance, we are joined today by Grace, a senior management analyst. I did this last time we had Jason on here. You are from our Development Services team.
Yeah.
How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show. Thanks for making the way up here. You're on the second floor, right?
Yeah, it's a long ways up here. I didn't even know this existed.
Did you take the stairs?
Oh, God, no. I would still be out of breath.
So let's start with the basics. This week, council approved the ADU ordinance. So tell us why council wanted to put an ordinance into place.
Yeah. Well, we've been talking about ADUs or accessory dwelling units for forever, but at least since the early 2000s. But in recent history, in 2023, council initiated a text amendment during an affordable housing workshop to address housing diversity and affordability, and they directed staff to explore permitting ADUs or allowing for ADUs in the city of Reno. Prior to that, ADUs were not allowed in most areas of the city. The goal with this ordinance was to provide more flexible housing options, support aging in place, accommodate multi-generational families, increase affordable housing stock. So there were multiple kind of affordable housing goals that we saw and that we see other jurisdictions use ADUs for. And then in addition to that, in July of this year, the state passed AB 396 or Assembly Bill 396, and this required jurisdictions to allow ADUs in residential zones. So it kind of forced our hands a little bit. Luckily, we had been working on this ordinance for a couple of years. So we had a lot of community feedback. We felt really comfortable with the way we were going with this ordinance, but that bill really prompted us to take action a little bit more quicker.
So the state was essentially like, hey, this is happening, do it. And we had to do it.
Yes. And luckily we got to work with the bill creators to make sure that the bill didn't kind of conflict with some of the things we had already been working on, because we felt that it was really important with all of the community feedback we had gotten to make sure that that didn't just kind of negate all of that work that had gone into it.
And for longtime listeners, because there's dozens of them, if you go back and listen to the legislature recap with Nick kind of explains how that process works and stuff. So tell us a little bit about how the city engaged the community to develop the new ordinance.
Yeah, we did a tremendous amount of engagement. I mean, that's something I'm really proud of with this ordinance, more than I've ever seen in my time at this city. And a lot of that was just due to the interest around accessory dwelling units. But it kind of started in January of 2024. The city conducted a survey. We got over 2,000 responses, which is huge. We really pushed this survey everywhere in our social media platforms, on Nextdoor, email blasts, and a majority of these responses kind of generally supported ADUs. Then we did some outreach included some presentation to the neighborhood advisory boards or NABs, some social media, local media, press releases. So we were really everywhere in that early 2024 timeline. And then from January of March of this year, we actually drafted an ADU ordinance and then conducted outreach again to get the public's input on that specific draft.
Grace, one of my favorite videos I've recorded was the one for the ADU video, actually, where I'm fighting away water bottles and you're like, it's so silly, like telling people what I do. They're like, what? But when you see it, it makes sense.
Surprisingly, we got a lot of interest from that video.
Yes.
I had like my in-laws text me every time I'm on the news, but then, my friends text me from that video and they're like, what's going on? Like, what are you doing?
That's so funny. So let's switch into some of the concerns that we heard from residents and NAB members and planning commission members. What were those?
So, like I said, we've been talking about ADUs since the early 2000s. There's always been a lot of concern or apprehension around accessory dwelling units. And I think anytime you introduce or propose any change, people get a little nervous. And so some of the biggest concerns we saw with that original drafted ordinance, the first one was lot size. So the first draft required a minimum lot size of 9,000 square feet. A lot of people actually thought that was too high. We kind of have two ends of the spectrum here. People who didn't want any form of accessory dwelling unit and people who had been kind of craving and waiting for this ordinance to pass for years. And so the people on that end of the spectrum, which tended to be a little bit more of what we saw, really wanted it to be reduced. These are people that live maybe in infill areas like Wells Avenue. They want to put in ADUs, and they were saying with that lot size minimum of 9,000 square feet, we'll never be able to do that. So that was the biggest complaint we saw with that first draft. And then parking requirements. This was something we had a lot of debate over. People don't want to see more cars on the street.
Right.
But kind of planning best practices is to limit the amount of parking so that you can really increase density in infill areas. So we kind of met in the middle there and said, let's require one off-street parking space on each lot for the ADUs. And this will allow us to kind of start developing those ADUs, but make sure that people aren't flooding onto the streets with their cars.
Right.
Design standards was another hot topic. We had, again, two ends of the spectrum here. We had the Association of Architects, where we were saying, let us have freedom. We would love to design really cool ADUs. And then we have the people who live in some of these neighborhoods that have really important character and distinguishing, architectural elements. And so, we're limited with what we can regulate, but we found some design standards that we already have in code for things like guest quarters, which was kind of the most comparable use we could see. And so we just copied that over to this use to say, same roof pitch, same materials, just something loosely that we can say it's compatible with the primary structure. If you have a brick primary structure, you can't have a metal accessory dwelling unit. So you have to incorporate elements of your brick, or if your roof pitch is flat, you can't all of a sudden then have a crazy pitch on your ADU. So just things that make sure that it blends into the neighborhood.
Cousins, not sisters.
Yes, exactly. And then the other thing that, we kind of keep hearing about was the relationship of ADUs to short-term rentals. This was a really hot topic we've seen since kind of the beginning of the conversation of ADUs, is the concern that all the ADUs that come into my neighborhood are going to be Airbnbs or VRBOs, short-term rentals. But at the other end of that spectrum, we see people using short-term rentals to supplement their income, to help pay their mortgage. And so we really kind of were battling with that two sides of people who are already kind of utilizing short-term rentals for good, and then people who were worried about them coming into their neighborhoods. Council decided to take out that short-term rental restriction and deal with it on a separate, kind of more comprehensive look.
That makes sense.
So, Grace, tell us what happens if I have a lot and a single-family home and I meet the requisite minimum lot size. I go hire an architect. Can I just go build an ADU without any other oversight by the city?
No, you will still have to come in to get a building permit. So we're working on an accessory dwelling unit guide because there's a lot of intricacies that go in, or nuances that go into applying for an ADU. It's new for us as well, and so we have to figure out the path for people when they come in to apply for their building permit. But you'll come in for your building permit. If you've hired a contractor, they will submit the plans, or your architect submits the plans. We run it through our review of fire, building, engineering, planning, to make sure it meets all of those minimum standards. And then you can build your accessory dwelling unit, and we will come out and inspect it and make sure it's safe and habitable.
Do we know what the permit fee will be?
We will have that in the guide. It's more of a range because a lot of our fees depend on where you're at, the size of your ADU, where you're sewering, things like that. So we wanted to give people an idea, but it's really hard to pinpoint for each particular case.
Are we talking $5 to $100? Or are we talking a lot more than that?
Yeah, it's quite a lot more than that.
It's not a cheap process.
Definitely not cheap. But I think, we have a little bit of buildup from people having wanted to do this for so long. Mm-hmm. But again, this is an incremental change. We'll see an incremental increase in density. And part of that reason is because of those fees.
Yeah.
This kind of helps just keep everything on the up and up. And I spend a lot of time on the internet. So one of the main concerns I've seen is people thinking we're just going to start building them. And it's like, well, no, there's building permits. There's all kinds of inspections. Like, it has to be thought out.
It's the first step in allowing them.
So council adopted the new ordinance. Tell us a little bit about what residents need to know if they're interested in adding an ADU to their lots.
Sure. So as we kind of discussed, lot size, the minimum lot size is 5,000 square feet. And so that's kind of the first thing you can check. You can look at the assessor's data to see what your lot size is. You can also always call us and we'll look up your address and see what your lot size is. The next step would be decide what you really want to build. Do you want to build an attached ADU? Do you want to convert your garage or your attic into an ADU? Or do you want to build a detached, kind of what we think of as your more classic accessory dwelling unit? And where would you like it to be on your lot? Based on this ordinance, it does have to be behind the principal structure. It has to be shorter than the principal structure. And so we really made sure to make them accessory in nature. So when you're walking on the street, the hope is you don't see all of these ADUs, like sore thumbs kind of sticking out. They really blend in because they're smaller and they're kind of tucked away. And then in terms of parking, like we discussed, you do have to provide that one off-street parking space. And so you not only have to have enough room to build this ADU, but you have to have enough room to accommodate the parking.
Okay. So quite a few steps you need to check yourself. So let's say AJ, want to add an ADU to my lot. How do I get started on that?
Yeah, I would say we are going to get this ADU guide posted on our website. And so that's kind of a great place to start.
Okay.
And it has all of our requirements, the setbacks, the design standards that we've discussed, all of those kind of different requirements laid out in there. And then you can also always call us. We'll tell you what your zoning is, what different standards you have, if we have any, flexibility or relief just based on your specific situation. And so it's not a one case fits all. If you look at our online guide and you're like, well, this isn't going to work for me, go ahead and give us a call. We'll let you know if there's anything that maybe you're not seeing or we can help you with.
So you can contact your department, the Development Services Department. Right?
In planning specifically.
Yes. How do we contact you?
You could call us at 775-321-8309, or you can email us at planning@reno.gov, and we can help you. We can email you that guide. We can just direct you to where in the code certain things live. And so we're definitely available to assist with all of that.
So it sounds like the ADU ordinance is just one more step in the city's broader efforts to expand housing choices and give residents more flexibility with their priorities. With that, we are out of time. Thank you, Grace, for joining us on the agenda today.
Thanks for having me.
Is there anything else that you feel people should know about either your department or ADUs or anything that you touch at the city?
Just to really thank people for their participation, because it truly did change the ordinance, and I think it made for a better result, and council actually felt comfortable adopting this ordinance because they knew how much public participation and feedback went into it, and so just know that your participation was valued and it was used in kind of the final iteration of the ordinance.
We love input here at the City of Reno. Before we sign off, Reno City Manager Jackie Bryant, tell us a little bit about what residents will see on the agenda for the next City Council meeting on October 22nd.
October 22nd, here we are. Wanted to let you know that we will be having council accept some grants, but this time in support of the City of Reno's annual military sports camp. There will be a presentation on the sewer user fee increase. It will come back again for final decision. There'll be a presentation and the annual report for the Glow Plaza and Festival area. That's part of its conditional use permit, which was granted in council in 2022. So we get to hear how that's doing. And then in addition to a council meeting, we'll close the council meeting and then we'll start again with the Redevelopment Agency Board. And that board will hear the long-awaited rebrand of the RDA. So I'm super excited about that.
Oh, that'll be fun. I love a good rebrand.
Yeah, me too.
So that is October 22nd, 10 a.m., Reno City Hall. Be there or be square. If you want to learn more about the city of Reno, check out our website, reno.gov. Check out our meeting portal, reno.gov/meetings. And don't forget to sign up for the Reno Reports, also available at reno.gov.